Hey guys, it's me Leeson. Today we'll be continuing on with episode 2 of HTML, how to create a cookie clicker styled website. This is part 2 where we'll be introducing upgrades. Today we'll be introducing the auto clicker upgrade, where if you get enough cookies, no less, .on or above, you'll be able to buy an auto clicker which generates 1 cookie per second. Plus the value of the price will go up by ×2, encouraging the user to not just buy the same upgrade, but have a variety of the rest which you'll be able to include in your own game. So not just the auto clicker upgrade, but let's say the farm upgrade where you can have maybe 10 cookies per second, but just a little bit more, so to encourage switching between the two, not just buying 1. Anyway, so as you see, we can buy 2 now. We're going to get 2 per second. So that's what we're aiming to do by the end of this episode, include this nice feature. So this is what we're at so far. We've got the clicker, be able to load up to our last amount and all that good stuff. So first off, we are going to need a variable called autoclick, which is what we're going to store the amount of autoclickers we have inside. From there, we are going to require a new function called timer. Within this function, we'll be continuously looping through it to update our cookie count with the same amount, but just with the auto clicks. So let's say they own 1 auto clicker, it's going to give them 1 extra cookie per second through that. But to make sure we are updating it continuously, we're going to have to create another function called update, which is going to update the displays on a HTML document all the time. So we'll create that up here, which will continue later. So to make sure this timer is always running and always updating, because of that, we're going to have to set an interval, which is going to call the function and run it. Timer every 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. So if you want it 2 seconds, set it to 2000 milliseconds. 3 seconds, 3000, or even less, and then a second if you really want to have half a second, or even 0.1 seconds. So we'll leave the update function empty for now, and we'll add in a button below the save and load, which is going to be where we can have the button for buying the new upgrade. So we're going to create the button like before, but we're also going to add in some breakpoints just so it's nice and split up. So here we go, we've got button, and then the closed tag of the button, and above that we're going to go paragraph by 1 auto clicker. So that's going to do nothing yet, because obviously it's just by 1 auto clicker, and the button's not going to appear because we've not set any text inside of it. So from here we're going to have to set the text to the button of an image like we did for the cookie. So let's go image. Oh no, we need a href. We're just going to do the onClick event. OnClick equals by auto click. We are then going to have to include the image, which will be a cursor, mouse hover. You can use whatever image you want for this, but I'll be using this image as seen there. But because it's quite large, it'll take up a lot of room, like so. So we're going to have to shrink that down a bit to make it easier for the user. So we're going to set the width to, let's say, 30 pixels. So px for pixels, and let go height 40 pixels. There we go. Now that makes it a lot smaller. It's not going to do it when we click on it yet, because we haven't set it to do anything yet. So now we've done that, underneath we're going to include a paragraph tag, which is going to have an ID of cost auto click, and that's going to be updated in the update function, so we know how much it's going to cost each time they buy another one. So when they buy one, it obviously can't stay the same, so it's going to have to go up, and this is what's going to handle that. So now we're going to put 12. No, we're not going to put any amount, because we're going to set that in the update. So we're just going to go cookies with a space. Following underneath, we're going to have the amount they own. So create another ID for this paragraph and go auto click amount auto click and go you on 0 auto clickers and separate that like that. So now we've set that up. It's obviously not going to do anything yet. It's got nothing it can do. So we're going to have to make it so the button actually runs beyond click within the script. So we're going to record it by auto click. Let's open this up, and within here we need an if statement which is going to check if they have enough cookies for the upgrade, and we're going to do it so every upgrade it increases by another 12. So if their cookie count is above or equal to, so if they have the right amount or if they have more, it's going to allow this if statement to run, and then that it has to be above, like go auto click, so that's how many they own. So if they own 0, it's going to be 0 times 12, but that's not possible, so we're going to have to add 1, which means we're then going to have to bracket this up so it times it. Alright, so now that should be all bracketed nicely. So now that's going to handle that amount. So if they own more than 12 cookies, it's going to let them get the first auto clicker in here. So we're going to go cookie count because we want to deduct the amount now. So they're going to be removed off the amount of auto clickers they own plus 1 times by 12, because that's what it's going to be. So let's say they own 0 auto clickers, so the first auto clicker is going to be 1 plus 1 times 12. So the first auto clicker is going to cost 12 and it's going to remove 12, which is why we're checking for 12. We add that plus 1, so therefore the very first one can actually cost something and not just 0 cookies, because 0 times 12 is obviously 0. So after removing their amount, we're going to add to a variable auto clicker we made at the top to say they own an extra 1 now. And underneath that, we're going to call the update function, which is then going to update stuff on the page for us. Even though this is continuously doing it every second, we want to update it at the instant that they buy an auto clicker, so it doesn't have a second delay. So now that's that function complete. However, it's not going to do anything because we haven't got the update. So it's alright them being able to buy auto clickers and stuff, but if it's not updating anything, then it's not going to do it. It's going to add them cookies, but it's not going to display every second they get an extra 1 because there's nothing updating. So we're going to remove from the add function these two and add them to the update. So we're just going to keep it all in one, and instead of doing that, we're just going to call the update function. Down here, we're going to do the same for the load. Just going to, instead of doing it like that, we're going to just put it up here, which already is exactly the same, so we might as well keep it up. That should be everything down here. So now, after doing those two, we want to be able to update the amount they own and the next amount of how much it's going to cost. To do that, we're going to have to get the element by ID and retrieve the amount auto click ID. And for when you're editing a paragraph text, instead of doing .value, because that's an input box where we're storing the cookie count, we're storing it in a paragraph this time. We're going to go .inner HTML equals instead. I'm going to go you own space and then put a plus where we're going to include the variable not within speech marks, and then back in speech marks space auto clickers comma. So now that will display how many they own. So if we buy 1, that should, it's not going to update. Wait, it should update. It's not letting us buy 1 though. So let's inspect and see what the issue is in the console. It's not giving us, which is strange. So we're going to have to investigate into that. So this button isn't actually doing anything, and that's because I didn't do a double T for it to be a button. No wonder it didn't have this border. So now if we go to 12, it should, okay, it's not going to allow us. So let's see what the issue is. So when we click the image, it's going to give us on click, but we forgot the brackets. So now if we try this once more, it should, there we go, it's going to deduct them, give us 1 auto clicker, and update the amount we have every second. However, it's not updating how much the next cookie is, and it's not even showing us how much the first one is. In the code we know it's 12, but they don't know it's 12. So now I'm going to have to do this up here and go document dot get element by ID, go speech mark cost auto click dot inner HTML because it's another paragraph, and go, instead of starting with speech marks, we're going to start with auto click +1 times 12, like down there in the code, and cookies. So now they should display how much they have after a second though, because it has to run the update function. So for the time being we should be okay to go with 12 cookies, which doesn't want to display straight away. Let's see. Okay. I'll have a look at the code. Oh, okay, that's because, right, so for the meantime we'll just have a script which does, wait, oh, we're changing the wrong thing. We're trying to change that when it's actually this one over here. I was thinking what's wrong when there was nothing wrong. So now if we buy an auto clicker, there we go. So that's nice and easy. But when we come to save the game, it's not going to save how many auto clickers we have. So we're going to have to set to our local storage, set an item, call this item auto click, variable auto click, semicolon, and now that will store it in our local storage. So if we get some cookies, buy an auto clicker, and then save, that should go in here. Save. Alright, let's make sure we did actually refresh the page. Save, and then go in it. There we go, we didn't refresh the page, so it wasn't allowing us. So now it's going to keep track of how many auto clicks we have. But then when we load the game, it's not going to give us them back. So that's what we're going to have to do within the load function. We're going to go auto click equals local storage dot get item, because we need to reset the auto click variable to what value is stored within the local storage, being 1 in this case. Now that's going to retrieve 1, because obviously if we load it up and load, it's actually going to do that because we've just said that. However, an issue with that is it's going to start messing up because we didn't pass it to an integer. So we have to do that in the same way that we did for the cookie count. So now if we go pass or click, that should fix that issue. So load, we get 1, and there we go, now it's fixed. So we'll go to 24 cookies and we can buy a second one. If we don't have enough, we won't be able to buy it at 12, so we're going to have to get 36 cookies to get the next one. That should be everything in today's episode. I'm going to just quickly go over my notes and check. By the looks of it, that is everything for today's episode. So in tomorrow's episode, we'll be working on adding a multiplier in where each click will gain 2. It'll maybe, if you want to enable the feature so that auto clickers give it a ×2 boost as well, so you can ×2 boost everything in the document. We're also going to attempt to add a cookies per second count, which is going to show how much cookies per second we are actually making from our auto clickers. So now we own 4 auto clickers. We want to know that we're getting 4 cookies per second from not us just tapping along as well. So that'll help for having multiple upgrades. So let's say we get another upgrade, which is a farm, gives 10 cookies per second. We have like 4 of those, 6 of those. It'll easily calculate how many cookies per second we have without us even having to think up in the top. So that's what we'll be aiming for in tomorrow's episode. If you're enjoying the series, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. Anyway guys, have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!